Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jen Penarski, and I'm a Communications Officer with the City of Kingston. You are in the first of two engagement sessions today to talk about the Confederation Basin Promenade Project. It's 2:31 p.m. There's 31 people who are registered to join us today, and we have just started the YouTube live stream, which will also be closed captioned and recorded. I'm just going to give about a minute or two just for the rest of our attendees to join us. So this is a moment for everyone who is here so far to just get comfortable, grab a drink of water, whatever else you need, and we will begin our presentation in about a minute. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. Hi, everyone. So we are going to get started. I see there is 15 people who have joined us on Zoom this afternoon. So again, my name is Jen Penarski, and I'm a Communications Officer here at the City of Kingston. And you are in session one that will introduce you to the Confederation Basin Promenade Project. I have a few housekeeping items before we get started on today's presentation. So today's session is live streamed, closed caption, and recorded to YouTube. So it will be on the City of Kingston's YouTube channel. If you are not able to stay for the whole session today, you can go back and watch again at your convenience. And your video and your microphones are turned off for to respect your privacy until we get to the Q&A session. And then if you have a question you'd like to ask, we will turn on your microphone. So I just wanted to cover a couple of technology troubleshooting problems because it does happen. We've had a couple of hiccups this afternoon already on our side. So if you have a technology question that is specific to Zoom, so not about the project, you can ask a technology question in the chat. So keep in mind, this is specific to technology and not to the project. You can adjust your view options. So if you would like to see it as a gallery view with all of our panelists or just whoever is speaking at the time, you can go to Get Involved Kingston, where there's a number of Zoom resources. If you get disconnected from the webinar, you can also call in. So the phone number to do so is 1-647-558-0588. And you can use the webinar ID 963-7166-8559. And you can always follow along on YouTube. There will be a formal Q&A session at the end of the presentation, and here's how you can ask questions. You can ask the questions in writing, so there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Your name and your question will be visible, and we'll read out your first name and your question. You can also ask a question verbally during the Q&A period. So if you are joining within the Zoom platform, you'll click the raise hand, so that'll be in the middle. If you're on the phone, please press *9 to raise your hand, and then we will turn on your microphone. We're going to also be using Mentimeter during today's presentation. So we ask you to have either a mobile phone or an iPad or a separate computer browser window open. There's nothing there for you to see yet. This is just to get you ready. And I will also drop a link into the chat for you. But if you're super eager, you can go to menti.com and enter the code 75442679. And your feedback received is anonymous. I'll cover a little bit more about Mentimeter when we get to that portion of the presentation. The other thing I just wanted to mention is we do have developed our guidelines for participation. Speaking of technology challenges, I omitted that part of our slide today, so my apologies. But our guidelines for participation, if you've joined us before, they guide the way that we receive feedback and the way that we engage with you. And they cover things about respecting each other, keeping your cell phones on mute unless you need them to take part in the presentation. If anybody has any concerns along the way about the types of questions that we're asking, or any concerns that you have about feedback, that's being submitted by others, please do drop a note into the chat so that we can follow up with you. If anybody who's on the call right now has any concerns about the way that we're receiving feedback today, I'll just ask you to use the raise hand function, and I'll have you maybe elaborate on any concerns you have about the city's public engagement process. I'm not seeing any raised hands, so I am very excited to turn this now over to Lori Paquin and our group of panelists today. If everyone, you can turn on your cameras and Lori will go through and introduce yourselves. And again, thank you for spending your afternoon with us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today and for using our new format for public engagement. My name is Lori Paquin, and I am a project manager with Parks and Shoreline in Engineering Services. Welcome to our first public meeting and presentation for the Confederation Basin Promenade Project. Today, we're introducing the project and asking for your feedback on the proposed accessible walkway and public space experience, to be constructed on the stone breakwall that forms the west arm of the Flora MacDonald Confederation Basin with access from Battery Park. Joining us today, we have Neil Unsworth, Manager for Parks and Shoreline with Engineering Services, and Julie Fawcett, Manager for Marketing and Public Engagement with Communications and Customer Service, Councillor Hutchison for District 11, Kingstown, and our consultant team, the MBTW Group and Shoreplan Engineering. Once again, thank you for attending today's meeting, and please join me in welcoming Jenna Joyce from the MBTW Group and Jane Graham with Shoreplan Engineering, who will together lead today's presentation. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Lori. Good day, everyone, and thank you again for taking the time to participate in this presentation. As Lori mentioned, my name is Jana Joyce, and I'm a principal and senior landscape architect at the MBTW Group in Toronto. I will be giving part of today's presentation along with my consulting team member, Jane Graham, who is a principal and senior coastal engineer with Shoreplan Engineering Limited. Both of us will also be participating in the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. The agenda for today's event includes general information about the project, a summary of important things to know, information about the Promenade project, a live Mentimeter interactive activity, followed by questions and meeting closeout. Next slide, please. The City of Kingston's current strategic plan is built upon 5 measurable priorities, one of which relates to the development of healthy citizens and vibrant places. Next slide, please. The first objective under the Foster Healthy Citizens and Vibrant Spaces priority includes the implementation of the Confederation Basin Breakwall Promenade Project, among other waterfront park rejuvenation initiatives. Next slide, please. The Confederation Basin Promenade Project proposes a new accessible walkway and public space experience built upon the existing stone breakwall that shelters Flora MacDonald Confederation Basin. An artist's rendering was prepared for the 2016 Waterfront Master Plan that shows what the promenade might look like. Next slide, please. The project area of consideration includes the entire existing breakwall structure, a portion of the basin, and a small section of Battery Park where the new promenade is proposed to connect. A portion of the basin is included in the scope of work to ensure that any proposed swimming features can be safely integrated into the project. Next slide, please. The 2016 Waterfront Master Plan process recommended the Promenade Project and established a high-level scope of work which was approved by Council. Please don't hesitate to visit the project website for more information about the 2016 Waterfront Master Plan and the Promenade Project conceptual design process. Next slide, please. Public consultation will include opportunities for the community to provide feedback on this presentation. Please note that the Promenade Project presented today reflects the approved budget for the project. The council approved budget for the project is $2.695 million. Next slide, please. Today's meeting will be available on the city's YouTube channel with a link available on the project webpage. Live feedback is encouraged during the meeting and will be tabulated as part of the public engagement response. Please visit Get Involved Kingston to complete the survey and to have your say on the Confederation Basin Promenade Project. A summary of the feedback received through Get Involved Kingston will be available on the project webpage later this summer. Next slide, please. Responses from this event will be provided to the consultant team and city staff and will be used to inform the conceptual design, which will be presented back to the public in the fall of 2021. The event will provide further opportunity for public input. Please visit the city website and the project page to stay up to date on the public engagement process. And please note that your feedback is important in shaping the outcome of this very unique and distinctive waterfront amenity. Next slide, please. Should you have any questions or wish to speak to city staff about the project, please do contact Lori Paquin. As introduced, is the project manager for the Promenade Project, and her contact information is on this slide. Next slide, please. The next part of this presentation introduces the design team and outlines what we've learned about the Promenade Project. The first thing we would like to present is the design team. The city has retained a consulting team, which includes landscape architects and engineers, to examine the existing conditions of the breakwall. This work will inform the future design and establish parameters for the Promenade Project. The MBTW Group is a landscape architecture and urban design firm. Shoreline Engineering specializes in coastal and structural engineering. Other team consultants include electrical and lighting engineer and creative design consulting. Next slide, please. And for those of you who are attending, for your information, the MBTW Group and Shoreline Engineering Limited have worked together on numerous projects before and have experience in construction in similar circumstances. For example, Tannery Park in the town of Oakville and the Frenchman's Bay Harbor entrance in Pickering share similar characteristics and challenges with the Promenade Project. I will now hand the presentation over to Jane Graham, who will present information about the breakwall and the proposed walkway solutions.
Thanks, Jana. Hi, I'm Jane Graham. I'm with Shoreline Engineering. One of the important things to know are the breakwall conditions. The breakwall was inspected by the team in order to develop an understanding of how it was constructed in 1990. Investigations included a review of the original constructional drawings, detailed site inspection, and a detailed drone survey of the entire structure above water. Next slide, please. The breakwater has been constructed in a typical manner with an outer layer of large stones and an under layer of smaller stones, with both layers covering the inner core of stones. The inner layers are the most suitable part of the structure on which to support a walkway. It's important to note that the lake-facing side of the breakwater is subject to high wave energy and has been designed accordingly. Next slide, please. The Confederation Basin breakwall is impacted by large waves during storm events. To understand what forces will affect the proposed walkway, the design team has modeled the wave action for various conditions. Next slide, please. The worst case scenario is a large storm event during periods of high water levels when waves are coming from the west-southwest direction. Waves could be as high as 2.5 meters. The lake-facing side of the breakwall, and specifically the area at the bend, would be subject to the most significant wave action. Next slide, please. During storms, high winds and periods of high water levels, waves will likely spray and overtop the lake-facing side of the breakwall and splash onto the proposed walkway. Wave spray will likely happen regularly. The design team, along with city staff, are evaluating how to make the walkway the safest it can be. Next slide, please. The breakwall is a significant structure within navigable waters. Navigation lighting is required and will continue to be in the future. Next slide, please. The team has explored various options for constructing the walkway on the breakwall. Options considered include a concrete walkway on piles, a concrete walkway without piles, or a piled supported deck. Next slide, please. The concrete deck without piles option may be the most suitable, given what we know about the conditions of the existing breakwall structure and the proposed project costs. This is an artist's rendering showing what the walkway could look like. Building the walkway would require rearranging the surface stones to make space for the walkway and constructing a low wall and below grade structure to resist wave action. The low wall would be located on the lake side of the walkway. Next slide, please. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Jana.
Great, thanks, Jane. Another important thing to know about the Promenade project, and as noted a little bit earlier in the presentation, is the budget. So a $2.695 million project budget was approved by Council for the project. And preliminary estimates indicate that approximately 240 meters of walkway could be constructed for this amount. The 240 meter length of walkway would extend to approximately the bend in the breakwall structure. Next slide, please. The Promenade project is comprised of 5 key components, including a connection to Battery Park, the Promenade Walkway, including lighting, a lookout area at the bend, water's edge access amenity, some seating opportunities, and artful elements. A description of each component is as follows. Next slide, please. A connection to Battery Park will be required where the breakwall meets the park. The design for this area could include the walkway connection with seating, the relocation of existing bollards, installation of electrical services, and adjustments to the outer layer of breakwall stones. No changes are anticipated within Battery Park or to the waterfront pathway. Next slide, please. The Promenade Walkway is envisioned as a 3-meter wide concrete walking surface constructed with a low wall on the lake side of the walkway. The wall and its below-grade structure are necessary to protect the walkway from wave action forces. This is an artist's rendering of what that walkway might look like. Next slide, please. The bend in the breakwall is a great location to take in views of the city, the lake, and surrounding features. The 240-meter promenade walkway will terminate at the proposed lookout area at the bend in the breakwall. This area could be widened to support additional seating and viewing opportunities. Next slide, please. There is an opportunity to provide water's edge access on the basin side of the breakwall where the waters are protected and are much calmer. This feature may include a floating platform with direct access to the promenade walkway for swimming, small non-motorized watercraft use, model sailboats, fishing, and viewing. Buoys or markers may be used to indicate motorized boating limits in proximity to the floating platform. This will help protect the area from residual electrical currents from nearby motorized watercraft. Next slide, please. Seating opportunities are proposed for various locations throughout the project and could include freestanding wood or stone seating, park benches, and seat walls. Next slide, please. There are opportunities to integrate subtle artful components that will support the uniqueness of the project. Artful components could include things like areas of special paving and wall treatments. Next slide, please. There are opportunities to integrate lighting, including pathway lighting, similar to what's been installed at Breakwater Park. Next slide, please. As a reminder, the Promenade project presented today reflects the approved budget for the project. In summary, the main features of the project include a connection to Battery Park, the Promenade Walkway, including lighting, lookout area at the bend, a water's edge access amenity, seating opportunities, and some artful elements. Next slide, please. The next part of this presentation introduces potential project enhancements. Project enhancements are design upgrades not included in the current approved budget. Based on the results of public engagement and approval by City Council, project enhancements may be considered subject to the ability to secure diverse sources of funding. The city would like to know how you feel about project enhancements. The following is a description of what some possible project enhancements might be. Next slide, please. Example A, extending the walkway to the existing lighthouse and providing a lookout at the base of the lighthouse structure. This would add approximately 230 meters of walkway length to the project. Next slide, please. Example B, enhancements could include creating a larger entry area off of Battery Park and would include upgraded site furnishings, bollard lighting, or some custom architectural elements. Next slide, please. A continuation of example B, the project enhancements examples could also include widening the Promenade Walkway to more than 3 meters and add the addition of a community gateway sign. Example C, providing an enhanced swimming space amenity for improved deep water swimming experience. This feature could include a large floating platform system that provides a multifunction venue for competitive and informal swimming activities. Examples include the winter bath facility in Copenhagen or the Duckworth Docks in Portland, Oregon. Next slide, please. Example D. Public art examples include freestanding sculptures, interactive pieces, or integrated features. Next slide, please. This is the end of the formal presentation. Now Jen will lead us through a fun and interactive exercise to collect feedback on the Confederation Basin Promenade project.
Thanks, Jana. So earlier in the presentation, I said that we would be working with a tool called Mentimeter, and this is your opportunity now to get your mobile device or click the link in the chat. So this is what it looks, well, there's the magic of Zoom. So if you have a mobile device, please go to menti.com and type in the code. Just bear with me for a moment, folks. I'm going to get another screen up and running for you. Type in the code 75442679. Okay, and what everybody should have on their screens in front of them, just so that we can get to know everybody a little bit better, could you tell us where you live? So if you have a mobile device like this, you can just use your finger, drag and drop, and just drop a pin on where you live. And I know there's about 13 of us, or actually closer to 20 of us participating today. And there's 5 of us who have told us where you live. And if you are joining us from outside of Kingston today, you can just tap outside of that. So Allison, I see your question in the chat. The code is 75442679. Mentimeter is a new way that we're receiving feedback. So if you're having technology problems, please don't stress out about it. We're here to help and learn alongside you. Okay, so I'm going to go along to the next question. So we would like to know what you value most about the existing site. So we want you to think about the way you feel when you visit the site, the sights and the sounds. For this one, we would like you to type 1 or 2 words. Okay, Catherine, I see that you have your hand raised. I don't know, do you have a technology question that maybe we can help you answer, or if you're just waiting for the Q&A opportunity? If you could just type into the chat to let us know how we can help you, that would be great. So some great ideas, some really nice things. So access to water, relaxed and inspired, view of the harbor, water view, natural settings, walkable. I'll give everyone about another 30 seconds. What do you value most about the existing site? So we're asking you to think about the way that you feel when you visit this area of the waterfront in Kingston. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to move along to the next question. So what should the city consider when developing the Promenade project? Neil, do you have anything specific that you would like people to keep in mind when answering this question?
Thanks, Jen. Maybe just if you don't mind just responding to
Yeah, of course.
Catherine, who had a concern about this technology. This is just a fun exercise.
Yeah.
And we
Oh,
yeah.
Catherine, I'll see your question. So Catherine has a concern about Mentimeter, and I'm sorry that I missed that. So we're using a new tool, and it's new to the city, and we know that it's new to everyone who's joining us today. So it's called Mentimeter. If you click on the link that's in the chat, it will take you to exactly what you're seeing on the screen here. And like Neil said, it's just a fun and interactive way, a little bit different than, if you think about times when we would have gathered in person, we would be having, like a roundtable conversation or using Post-it notes to talk about these things. So it's just another way that we're receiving feedback. So please don't stress out about it. If you're having challenges with Mentimeter, and you feel more comfortable, typing these responses into the chat, that's okay too. You're welcome to also send me a question in the chat, and I'll see if I can help get you online. So some of the things that you're hoping that the city should consider is having activities, water access, making it a destination, seating, rest areas, wayfinding. These are all great suggestions. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. What do you like most about the proposed Promenade project? So of the things that the project team has presented today, what do you like most? So some of the things that you are telling us so far that you like about the proposed promenade project: options for art, safety for children, small boat access, swimming. What else? Increasing access to the waterfront. These are all great. I'll give you another 30 seconds or so if you have anything else that you would like to add. Thanks, everyone. This is some great feedback for the project team. Okay, I'm going to go along to the next question. So this one's a little bit different than the questions that we've asked you before. This one is a ranking one. So depending on how you're accessing Mentimeter right now, whether it's through a browser or your phone or a tablet, even some differences between if you're using an iPhone or an Android device, what we're asking you to do is to rank these enhancements in the order of your preference. So let us know which ones you like first, second, third, or fourth. This question is optional, as are all the other ones. So if you prefer not to answer this one, that's okay too. Okay. I also wanted to let you know that these questions that we're asking you during this engagement session are the same questions that we're asking you on Get Involved Kingston, so that we're receiving feedback in the same way. And they're also the same questions that we'll ask later on in the second session today. And Catherine, I see that you don't see anything to rank. Catherine, if you, if it's okay, I could get you to, type these into the Q&A if that's easier for you to offer feedback that way, or you can type it into the chat. For anyone who is maybe still having some challenges with Mentimeter, that's okay. Like I said, we're learning alongside you. So those proposed enhancements were extending the walkway to the lighthouse and provide a lookout area, enhance swimming space amenities for improved deep water swimming experience, widen the walkway and create an enhanced entry area, including upgraded public realm design elements, and public art, including freestanding sculptures or interactive pieces. And it looks like just about everyone has answered. So those are all of our Mentimeter questions for today. So thank you for playing along and learning alongside us. The other thing that I'll add is that we do have an evaluation poll at the end of this session. And so you can tell us, if Mentimeter was a way that worked for you and any ways that we can help improve the engagement experience. We are always welcome to hearing feedback from you. We are now going to go over to the, this is the formal Q&A portion of our presentation. So just bear with me for a moment. I'm going to pull up the slide that has the reminders on how you can ask questions. I see that there's already a couple in there. So project team, this is your opportunity to have your cameras on and turn on your mics shortly, and we'll start answering some questions. Neil and Laurie, while I'm getting that next set of slides open, is there anything that you would like to share with people in the session before we get to the Q&A period?
So maybe I just wanted to reinforce that this is the introduction meeting of one of two meetings for the project. And I just wanted to reinforce that there's going to be quite a lot of time for the city staff and consultants to hear your feedback through all different platforms. We saw one of the participants was not comfortable using the Mentimeter platform, and we appreciate that. We have all sorts of opportunities to receive your feedback, including just the old-fashioned way if needed. We have a great online platform system that will be open for several weeks following this and this evening's consultation sessions, and you can reach directly out to the project manager as well. That's Lori. We're going to take in your feedback through the summer. We're going to sort it and try and pull out the common ideas, and we're going to provide responses back and let you know the answers to your questions. And we'll do that before the end of the summer. And then in the fall, we're going to bring a concept plan that reflects your feedback, hopefully. And then we'll do it all over again, and we'll take in more feedback. And the project is not scheduled to be under construction until 2023. That's a council direction based on the juggling of priorities we had to do when the pandemic struck last year. So there is time for us to hear people out, but I want you to know that the consultant team has quite a large amount of work already started on understanding the technical side of the site and trying to get closer to understanding the potential for the scope of the project given our budget. I think that's probably good, and I think we should take some questions.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. So I see a couple of questions in here, and Catherine, I see a number of questions from you. Some of them are about algae. I know you've had some frustrations about the Mentimeter exercise, so thank you for that feedback. That's important, especially for me to know. So Catherine, what I'm going to do is, like I said, you had some questions about algae. I'm going to, I guess, perhaps maybe I'll turn this over to Neil first, so that maybe you could direct Catherine to where she could get some answers. But she says, since she lives in this area, there's lots to tell you about what goes on. And she asks, how can I inform you of the algae problem? So it's a bit out of scope of the project, but can you point Catherine in the right area?
Thanks, Jen. I think it's actually really helpful information. So Catherine, we have your contact information. We're going to try and follow up on your inquiry and get some of your local knowledge. We have an entire department that is responsible for sort of monitoring water quality, and we work with our health unit as well. So we need to know this information. There was quite a little bit of work done in advance of even setting the scope of this project to determine whether in-water swimming was reasonable in this location. So we would not have gone down that road had that information proved to be problematic. But I think we're always willing to hear a person's knowledge, especially if they happen to stare at the harbor or see the harbor every single day. So we'll follow up on this issue later in the summer. Thanks.
Thank you, Neil. I am going to go over to a question from Roger, and I see that you have your hand raised. I'm just going to unmute you and then take it away, Roger.
Okay, thanks. Hi, my name's Roger Healy, and I live on Beverly Street. I didn't have Menti operating at the point where you were asking that question. But anyway, this area, this facility is near me, and I would use it for sure. I had a few other kind of offbeat or kind of unknown sports that maybe could make use of this, and this would be kite sailing. Of course, we see it in the summer end. Could be done on ice as well. So kite sailing, all seasons really. I don't partake in that myself, but I know several people who do. Skating is another interesting potential. And another one was ice boating. And there's quite a few people who are playing around with ice boats, the DN9 type small single-handed boats, and they have a very unique set of conditions before they can operate, but they're quite fun, and I know, again, the same people who I know are kite sailors also play around with ice boats, and it might be something you just want to keep in mind as a possible use.
So Roger, just to paraphrase, you're wondering whether or not other activities could be included in the project scope. Do we have that? Am I understanding that?
Yeah, I guess these are activities that don't come to mind. Maybe skating does, but they don't come to mind right away. And I'm just wondering if you can consider them at the outset. That's all.
Neil, Lori, project team?
Yeah, I think, hi Roger, how's it going? I'm glad to take in feedback at this point. I think we're really looking for feedback from the community at this point, and we would be able to bring more information back later in the summer and in our second session in the fall on a lot of the questions I'm seeing popping up right now.
Thank you, Neil. We'll go to the next set of questions and comments from AJ. So AJ says he would like all of the proposed enhancements, and how can I help get funding for all of them? So I believe this is a question for perhaps Neil and Julie.
Hi, Neil. I'll take this one. Hi, AJ. Nice to hear from you. So what's going to be happening around, so first of all, excited that you're excited about all the enhancements. That's great. So we're going to, part of the public engagement process is kind of just what we're doing right now is collecting feedback from the public. And once we have interest from people wondering what types of enhancements, if any, they're actually interested in, then we'll be reporting back, as Neil had mentioned, sometime, I guess, in August. And during that time, if there are enhancements that we're interested in pursuing, my team will be looking out towards getting grant possibilities, as well as maybe some other opportunities for fundraising, such as sponsorship and donations. So I'll be sure to make sure that will be communicated throughout the city, but I'll make sure to reach out to you as well, AJ, to see if you're interested in helping with that. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Julie. A follow-up question from AJ was asking about active amenities such as a lake surfing dock. Neil, you said we're just taking in feedback right now, so AJ will make sure that that is reflected in the information and ideas that we collect so far. The next question is from Dorianne, and they ask, concerning water quality for swimming opportunities, have you looked how Sydney, Australia has designed their rock pools and outdoor swimming pools, which would ensure safe water for swimming? So this is a question for Jana and Graham.
Hi, thank you, Dorianne. That's a really great question. That is certainly something that we will look into. Australia's methodology for creating safe swim areas has been noted to us before, earlier in this process. So it's really great to know that there are others out there who are kind of in support of looking outside the country to potentially find some solutions for what we could do here. So that's a really great comment. And hopefully our response is encouraging as we move forward. But thank you for that.
Thank you, Jana. There's a follow-up question from Catherine who has concerns about garbage and some of the experience that she had at Richardson Beach in the past. Neil, Lori, just sort of, this is like again, this is a little bit out of the project scope, but can you address some of Catherine's concerns?
Yeah, of course. I actually think this is a really great question for us to be thinking about. How do we maintain this amenity after it's built? So we're working with our Public Works Department and our other relevant departments that would have some participation in keeping this space safe and clean, so that when we design it, whatever that design looks like at the end of the day, that it's manageable to maintain, and if someone does break a bottle, that it can be quickly and easily cleaned. So thanks for the comment, but for sure we're going to be working with the people who do the maintenance of the parks and open spaces to ensure that it's able to be cared for. Thanks.
Okay, at this moment, I don't see any other questions, but just as a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, you can type it in using the Q&A tool, or if you would like to ask a question verbally, please click raise hand, and then just like Roger, we can hear your question in person. Roger's going to now use the Q&A tool. And he asks, is Richardson Beach going to be upgraded?
I can take this question. Hi, Roger. It's Lori Paquin. I'm the project manager on the Richardson Beach project, which includes park improvements as well as shoreline protection. And that project has been underway from a design perspective for a while now. We have, we're just on the verge of being able to hire a contractor for that. And we anticipate that the work will be underway to see those park improvements as well as improvements to the shoreline, probably later this summer or early fall.
Thanks, Lori. Roger, I hope that answers your question. Okay, everyone, you've got the project team and city staff in front of you to answer your questions about funding opportunities, the proposed enhancements, or the proposed project elements. Hi, Bill. I see you have your hand raised, and I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead, Bill. Bill, are you having a, do you need help getting unmuted? Or would you like to type in your questions in the Q&A? Okay, Bill, we're not hearing you. Okay, so we'll take one more question from Roger, but I think that looks like it's about all we have for questions this afternoon. Roger has a question: is new Lower Union project considering adding to this project in the way of public amenities? So Roger, I think we might need a few more details to know specifically what you're looking for. Project team is the Lower Union project. Yeah, Neil, go ahead.
I believe Roger's referring to a land development proposal at Lower Union. So the answer is no. there's no correlation between that proposed land development project and this city-led park and shoreline improvement project.
Joanne has a question about signage. Will signage be added to direct pedestrians to the walkway and to direct people back to the center core?
Yeah, I can start this one for the group. So wayfinding to a certain extent will be part of the Promenade project. And I think that, and perhaps Neil or Laurie can jump in terms of signage away from the footprint of this project. If you could maybe provide some comment on what the intention would be there.
Yeah, it's a really neat idea. We'll take it away and think about it a bit. But we did a bunch of waterfront wayfinding signage around the downtown area that have arrows that point to sort of main amenities like City Hall and Battery Park. And if this Breakwater Park, if this amenity becomes, as popular as we hope it will be, maybe some of that signage could be adjusted. We could put some stickers on and say to the Confederation Promenade, so that could be a destination that gets promoted on those existing waterfront wayfinding signs. But yeah, thanks, great idea.
And Bill, it looks like your microphone is unmuted. So if you're able to speak, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, can you hear?
We
Hear me
can.
now?
Thanks, Bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just have a comment to make. I think that when planning out the promenade, that consideration should be given to the fact that of what the original design of the park appears to be, and that is a walk-through park with very few facilities or amenities. So certainly a promenade walkway out to the lighthouse with a lookout would be a spectacular addition to the park. But as far as swimming or amenities that would encourage gathering of large groups, I really don't think that that's suitable for this area when you consider that the number of people that live in close proximity to the park. In contrast, if you look at Breakwater Park, where it's a large beach, heavily used, a lot of people gathering, but there's somewhat protection for the residents is somewhat given by the fact of the location in relation to the residential areas. It's across the street. You have the water treatment plant, which kind of shields that park area. But and now I live at 135 Ontario Street, so that's why I'm interested in what takes place here. But you have the condo building, which is in close proximity. You have the hotel, and you have the two residential rental buildings. So just by way of a comment, I think that we should try and keep the promenade to the original sort of design or plan of the park, being that it's walk through, temporary stop, rest, look around, take in the scenery, and then continue on the waterfront trail. So those would be my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill, for sharing that. We have a question from Dorothy Ann in the chat, and she's wondering about accessibility. The roadway down to the harbor is pretty challenging for people who require mobility aids. What is the plan to address this? And I think this is one that Laurie, Jana, Graham.
Hi, thank you. That's a very good comment. It is something that we're going to be considering within the project limits itself, but also we will be considering how to address accessibility outside the footprint of the project as well. So I think it's something that we can take away as a very good comment, and we'll certainly do what we can to find some answers for you on that one. Neil or Lori, I don't know if there's anything that you would like to add to that.
Is the question on Gore Street, a foot of Gore Street? I think if the question is about the foot of Gore Street, we will be running the whole project through a review with our municipal accessibility committee. And we'll make an effort, maybe we can just make a note to make an effort to talk about the connectivity to this location, but and maybe you can reach out to Lori directly afterwards as well, because in the pre-planning for the project, a lot of the routes that get to Battery Park and the waterfront walkway are accessible now. So if there's a space that needs improvement, we'd love to hear about it. So I agree, we can take that away and look into it a little more.
Dorothy Ann, you're welcome to just raise, oh yeah, you're welcome, Dorothy Ann. It sounds like it was Gore that you were concerned about. We have a follow-up question from Joanne. It sounds like it's a lot like Bill's comment, and she's wondering, is there any thought has been given to controlling overcrowding? Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I'd love to field this question because we've learned a lot about overcrowding and gathering in public spaces. So I guess the reality is that the public space itself doesn't necessarily allow for overcrowding. These spaces are designed to accommodate a certain number of people comfortably. And we went through this conversation on another waterfront pathway project near Portsmouth Harbor recently that's currently under construction, where we changed the walkway from a walkway to a walkway with a small gathering node where you could sit and watch the water. This is a very similar situation to that. So in the current proposal, the designers have a relatively streamlined pathway or walkway that goes out on the breakwall. And the lookout area that would be at the corner is quite modest in scale. So it would only have a certain capacity. You know, we're talking about dozens of people, not hundreds. So I think people can come and go, and it has capacity to handle tourist movement and morning walkers and evening walkers. But the actual amount of space that people will find comfortable to linger and stay longer is quite limited, actually, just because of the width of the existing breakwall. But when we get into more detailed design, we'll certainly keep that in mind. And we'll also work with our current very experienced bylaws department just to have their review and thoughts about emergency management and things like that as well. So yeah, great suggestions. We're on it.
Thank you, Neil. So I am not seeing any questions, and I'm also mindful of everyone's time on this beautiful afternoon. So with that, does the project team have any closing remarks before I go along to the rest of our housekeeping and closing on our time together? No, you guys are good? Okay, so thank you again for spending your afternoon with us. I'm going to launch it's an evaluation poll. So it's specific to the technology that we use today. And we definitely heard that, maybe Mentimeter wasn't appropriate for this, but we definitely appreciate that you took up the challenge and also that you played along with us and offered your feedback. So like I said, this one is specific to the technology and how you heard about the session. So today's session was live streamed and closed captioned and will be available on the City of Kingston YouTube channel. You can reach out to Lori Paquin and the project team. Her information was available on an earlier slide and is available on Get Involved Kingston. Speaking of Get Involved Kingston, I'm going to add a link into the chat where it will take you straight over to the project page where you can download the presentation panels, and you can also re-watch this session. I'd also like to add that there are display panels in and near Battery Park that share today's presentation, the proposed elements, and the proposed enhancements. Going to give everyone another minute or two to complete our evaluation survey. Well, it looks like everyone has completed our evaluation survey. So thank you again for spending this super sunny Monday afternoon with us. If you would like to join us again for the session that takes place later on this evening, you can go to the city's website. It will be the same presentation. We'll also use the same feedback tools, but it would be great for you to join us. Again, thank you on behalf of the City of Kingston. Have a great afternoon.